Hey everyone, I'm TJ Stecker. Welcome to Fireside Writer. Today I want to talk about something I know a thing or two about, military writing and fiction. I spent years as a Naval Flight Officer flying P-3 Orions on deployment. I've lived in that world, the jargon, the protocols, the bureaucracy, and yes, even the fear that comes with operating multi-million-dollar equipment in hostile environments. So when I read military thrillers, I notice things. The details that ring true, and the difference between the authors who did their homework and the ones who just watched Top Gun a few times. Today we're diving into The Hunt for Red October by Tom Clancy, arguably one of the most influential military thrillers of all time. We'll talk about what Clancy got right, what Clancy got wrong, and what writers can learn from both. Before we dive in, if you're enjoying this content, hit that like button and subscribe. Alright, let's talk about Tom Clancy. Tom Clancy wasn't military. He was an insurance salesman from Maryland. He spent his free time reading Jane's fighting ships and military journals. He was a civilian who became obsessed with technical details of modern warfare, and that obsession showed through on every page. The Hunt for Red October was published in 1984, Clancy's first novel, and it changed everything. President Reagan loved it. The book became a massive bestseller, and Clancy became the defining voice of the techno-thriller genre. He wrote over a dozen more novels featuring Jack Ryan, founded a video game empire with the Rainbow Six and Ghost Recon franchises, and basically invented the modern military thriller as we know it. But here's what's interesting. Clancy wrote about submarines without ever serving on one. He wrote about naval operations without ever being in the Navy. He wrote about covert operations without a clearance to classified information. And yet, his books feel authentic. How did he pull that off? Let's talk about it. Let's give credit where it's due. Clancy's technical descriptions are phenomenal. Here's where it gets personal for me. The P-3 Orion makes an appearance in The Hunt for Red October, in both the book and the movie. In the story, when the Red October is trying to evade detection from both the American military and the Soviet one, there's a critical moment where a multi-engine turboprop flies overhead. The crew aboard the Red October needs to determine whether it's the Soviet Tu-142 or the American P-3 Orion, based on its sound and the torpedo it drops. That moment, that's authentic. That's the kind of detail that matters. So much of my time deployed was spent trying to determine the country of origin for a submarine below the water, based on its sound retrieved from sonar buoys dropped into the water. Clancy understood how this system worked. He knew the P-3 carried torpedoes. He knew he operated at low altitude. He knew the Soviet equivalent was the Tu-142, and he knew experienced submariners who could tell the difference. That's the kind of research that makes readers, especially those with military backgrounds, trust you as a writer. Clancy didn't fly P-3s, but he talked to people who did. He understood the role maritime patrol aircraft played in Cold War submarine warfare. And it showed. In my novel Redacted, I draw heavily on my time flying P-3s. The jargon, the crew dynamics, the mundane frustrations of deployment, all that comes from lived experience. But I also researched the hell out of things I didn't experience directly. Legal procedures in Redacted? I went to law school and worked in the Pentagon, but I still consulted with other military attorneys. Authenticity comes from effort, and Clancy understood that. He got the P-3 right. Now let's talk about what Clancy didn't get right. And this is where my experience as a Naval Flight Officer gives me perspective. Clancy's characters often feel like archetypes rather than people. Jack Ryan is brilliant, heroic, morally upright. He doesn't feel flawed in the way real people are flawed. And the sailors aboard the USS Dallas? They're competent professionals, sure, but they don't have the texture of actual military personnel. Here's what I mean. When you're deployed, you're not thinking about the geopolitical implications of your mission 24/7. You're thinking about the broken coffee maker in the galley. You're pissed off that someone ate your last protein bar. You're making dark jokes to cope with the stress. You're homesick. You're bored out of your mind during long stretches of nothing, and then suddenly terrified during the moments that matter. In Redacted, I have a scene where my protagonist, Jeff Coburn, is flying P-3s over the Gulf of Aden. He's frustrated because Mission Control sent them away from a suspicious target to search somewhere else. His navigator makes a sarcastic comment. They argue about orders they don't understand. That's the reality of military operations. You follow orders that don't always make sense. And you vent to your crew because they're the only people that get it. Clancy nails the what, the technical procedures, the weapon systems, the strategy. But he sometimes misses the how it feels. That's the difference lived experience makes. The emotional truth of military life. The grinding frustration. The camaraderie that's equal parts friendship and survival mechanism. The way the system chews people up. But let's get back to what Clancy absolutely nailed, the ticking clock. The Hunt for Red October is a masterclass in urgency. The Soviet submarine is defecting. The US Navy has to find it before the Soviet fleet does. Every chapter, the clock ticks. Decisions have to be made now. Lives are on the line, war could break out at any moment. This is essential for thriller writers. Without urgency, you lose tension, and without tension, readers put the book down. If you're writing crime fiction or thrillers, ask yourself, why does this have to be solved now? What happens if the protagonist fails? Make that clear. Keep reminding the reader of the consequences. So what's the takeaway here? Tom Clancy wasn't a soldier, a sailor, or a spy, but he wrote military thrillers that felt authentic. That's because he did the research. He understood the systems, the technology, the geopolitics. He got the P-3 Orion right, just like so many other details. He understood submarine warfare. And he built stories around ticking clocks that kept readers glued to the page. If you're writing about the military, do the research. Read the manuals, interview veterans. Get the procedures right. But also remember, the best military fiction isn't just about cool technology and tactical maneuvers. It's about people under pressure, people making impossible choices, people trying to do the right thing in a system that doesn't always reward it. That's what I try to bring to my own work, and that's what I hope you take away from this video. Thanks for watching. Now get back to your manuscript. You've got work to do.